In this Great Lakes prepping video, I want to talk about long-term water storage. It's often said that on average a person needs a minimum of 1 gallon of fresh water every day, and this is supposed to account for drinking, cooking, and cleaning. So if we're talking about storing water for emergency or disaster purposes, that means every person in your household will need, at the bare minimum, one of these every single day. Well, I don't know about you, but I sure don't think it makes much sense to try and store a few hundred or thousand of these things. Never mind that the containers aren't intended for real long-term storage. You can't stack them, and you can't move them around in any reasonably easy way. Now, some people use these, which, don't get me wrong, I love these water jugs, and I use them for camping and hunting all the time. They're super durable, and they just work great. But again, how many would you need to buy and stack somewhere in your house to take care of all of your long-term water needs? So that's why I happen to go with the 55-gallon drum. In fact, I got a few of them in here right now. Now you can get containers that are much bigger than this, but this is about the biggest container you're going to have any chance of being able to move around if you need to. I keep my barrels on these heavy-duty casters, and it still takes a little bit of effort to roll them around. Now I ultimately want to have probably about 8 of these things down here. I got a couple more coming right now. But for right now, I have these 3. That's 165 gallons of fresh, clean water for drinking, cooking, cleaning, and anything else. Now, if you're looking at 55-gallon barrels, you're going to come across a couple of different types. Open top barrels have a separate lid that completely removes and clamps down over the barrel. Closed top barrels, which is what I have, they have an enclosed top that's completely, constructed into the structure of the thing, and there's these 2 small openings. And yes, the technical term for these is bunghole. I like the closed top barrels because they seem more structurally rigid, and there also seems like there's less chance of something contaminating the water when I need to open it up to access the barrel. Now some people are able to find barrels like this secondhand that have been used for some kind of food product in the past by a company. They're a bit cheaper, but I personally don't like the idea of these because I don't want to worry about what may have been stored in them previously. Will I ever be able to get every last drop of residue out of there? If it was used for pickles, is my water going to be a little pickly forever? If it was something sweet and sticky in there, that's just getting the bacteria out of that, especially since it's closed top and there's not any real great way to get something down in there to scrub it. So I went with brand new. Now I got these for about, I can't remember exactly. I think I got these 3 for about $65 each with maybe about $5 shipping. I got them from Walmart.com. You can get these from anywhere between $50 and $100. I usually find them somewhere right in the middle of that. But for having them shipped for $5 a piece from Walmart.com, I don't know how they can ship them that cheap, but it was cheaper than the gas I would have spent to go and pick some up myself from the nearest physical store that sells them. I'll talk about these metal casters a little more. I really like these casters. They make cheaper ones, including cheaper ones that are made of plastic, and they make more expensive ones. These are sort of right in the middle. These casters are rated to handle 1,000 pounds of weight, and a full drum of water weighs a bit less than 500 pounds. Now these casters cost me around $60 each, although like the barrels, the price kind of fluctuates a bit on these. All I know is that these drums would be absolutely impossible for me to move around if they weren't on casters, so I consider them a must-have. A couple other accessories you're going to need if you go the closed top 55-gallon barrel route. First of all, this is called the bung wrench, and it's used to open up the caps on these barrels. You can see there's the shape of the indentations on this cap, and this wrench is designed to fit perfectly in there so you don't damage anything when you're screwing or unscrewing. And you got to screw these things down pretty tight if you do it right, so you really want to use the proper tool to remove it. I think this wrench cost me about $12. It's made out of aluminum. I don't have any reason to suspect that won't last me forever. The other gadget you're going to need if you go with 55-gallon barrels is this thing. Let me try to get it all in the shot here. This is the siphon pump. And you got 55 gallons of fresh water. How do you get it out of there without making a terrible mess? Well, you gotta somehow get it out of the barrel and put it into a smaller container to then use for something. So what you do with this is you put this whole thing down into the barrel. I'm not going to actually open my barrels right now because they're good and sealed. You put that the pipe all the way down in the barrel, and then loosen the little cap here a bit, and you just get a few pumps going, and it'll fill it up with water and start your siphon going, and then it'll come out of this ridged tube right here. And you just put that tube into whatever container you want. And when you want the water to stop flowing, all you got to do is either tighten this cap, and it'll kill the siphon, or you can just pull the whole thing right out of the barrel altogether. The last thing I want to talk about with regards to storing water for long term is, well, I see a lot of questions from people online about how to store water, and specifically with regards to treating the water prior to storing it. So here's the deal. You can buy water treatment stuff that's specifically labeled for long-term storage. Lots of companies sell that sort of product. It'll do the trick just fine. In my opinion, it costs too much. Alternatively, you can add 4 to 5 drops of unscented liquid chlorine bleach into each gallon of water you're storing. 1 teaspoon of bleach will treat about 5 gallons of water, according to what I've read. At this concentration, it's a perfectly safe amount of bleach to add to your drinking water. Now, however, still, if you have municipal tap water that comes chlorinated, you can skip all of it. You don't have to add anything. My city has really good tap water, and it's sufficiently chlorinated right out of the faucet. If I had well water, I'd filter every last drop through a good filter and then add bleach to it. But I don't need to bother with that here. I just hooked up a hose to the laundry sink and filled them up until they were overflowing a little bit, and I put the caps on. So there you have it. Like everything we do, there's 100 different ways to do it, and this is how I do long-term water storage. Until next time, this is Great Lakes Prepping.